Hello and welcome. It's Mystic. I'm here with you for another episode of Being a Writer. This is my podcast where I just talk about the process of being a writer, share some of my experiences, and share some of my thoughts when it comes to being in the space of being a writer. Like so many of you, we have our ups and downs, and we have our challenges, and we have our wins, and I'm just here to talk about it. So thank you for coming by and visiting with me. I am excited to be with you every time I'm here. And before we get started, just a reminder, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. Make sure you hit like to help with the Mr. Algorithm, and hit the bell so that you know when I post any updates or any new videos. And as always, thank you so much for visiting. You could talk to and play with and visit so much out there in the interwebs, and I appreciate you coming by to visit me here on my channel. So let's get into it. Being a writer. So I thought, with everything that's going on for all of us, I mean, it's a crazy, hectic world, right? And being an artist of any kind can be a challenge, especially if you do it full time. And the reality is, even if you do it part-time. So I'm a full-time writer. I came from a 9 to 5, a regular job, to now putting all my energy into being a writer full-time. And the only thing that has changed for me in this equation is the amount of work I have to do to maintain what I put out there. In some ways it's harder, right? Because when you have a full-time job, yes, you have the foundations of the stability, you have that regular paycheck that takes care of all your bills and the medical insurance and all that kind of stuff. And you got to come home and you got to do whatever it is that your art is that drives you, the heart of your passion, in your spare time, at night, in the middle of the night, or if you work nights, in the middle of the day, or on the weekend, or wherever you can find the time. So that in and of itself is a drag sometimes. That in and of itself is hard. But when you do it full time, managing the disciplines and managing the process, managing the stress of keeping busy as an individual, as a consultant, as an independent, can be difficult. Finding the gigs where you can get regular pay, that's very stressful. So it's interesting. It's like a catch-22, right? It's like 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other. It's like I can ease the stress of finances by getting a job, but now I have the stress of trying to get to my passion. Or I can walk away from the job and focus on my passion, but now I have the stress of managing the finance. So it's like we just don't win no matter where we go as a creative. So we are all here together. So come close. We are all here together, and we're in the same space where the economy is tough. And I don't want you to quit your job. You have a job, pay your bills, take care of your family, do what you need to do to take care of what you need to do, but you still have to find time to pursue your passion, because my friend, we need you. We need all the artists today. You look around you and look at the state of the world and look at the state of the entertainment industry. We need all the talented creatives that are willing to come out and come forward and put their art on the table, put their craft into play. So don't give up on your craft, but you got to be able to focus on it. So I wanted to talk today about balancing creative flow with the stress and with the deadlines, because it's hard. I have my own sets of stress, and as a full-time writer, I feel that stress. I have projects that I work on. Some of them are very simple projects, whether it's writing an article or supporting somebody with copy for whatever it is they need, or the more robust projects, because I am a screenwriter. So I help people write scripts. I write scripts for people on commission. I have my own script projects that I write. I've got a couple of projects being considered for production. So I have my own stresses, and with production, with projects comes deadlines. And when you are a writer or you are any kind of creative and you're doing your own thing, maybe you don't have deadlines. Maybe you're just working for the love of working. And when you have deadlines, that kind of changes everything. And if you're procrastinators, deadlines are the enemy, because procrastinators wait until the last minute. And when your deadlines have dollar signs attached to them, that can be very stressful. So I like to sleep, so I don't like deadlines that hit on waiting to the last minute, because that means that you have 1 or 2 days of staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not good with that. So I'm going to talk about some of that, some of my own experiences and some solutions that I've come up with. And I welcome feedback, I welcome comments and all that kind of good stuff. The only thing I want to remind everyone is I like to operate a safe place. I like to operate a friendly place. I do not like people kind of growling at each other. So I do welcome comments, questions, and I'm happy to answer your questions and engage with you in the comments. But please be nice, be kind to me. I'm going to be kind to you, so please be kind to me. And we are here to support each other. So before I get started today, I want to thank and speak about the sponsor. So we're going to talk a lot about mindfulness, and the sponsor today, this month, is dōTERRA. And dōTERRA is essential oils. If you've never used essential oils, I highly recommend them. I have a lot of things I use in my practice, and I call my writing a practice because it's that embedded in my lifestyle. And you have to have disciplines on every forum, on every part of you, when you engage in an art, in a craft like writing or any other craft any other artistic craft that you might be engaged in. And if you don't take the time to manage your mindfulness, you'll lose focus, so you'll have stress, and it's so easy when you're dealing with deadlines and when you're dealing with a craft. So part of my discipline and part of my routines is meditation, affirmations, and breathing. And I use these to keep myself calm and to keep myself centered and to keep myself focused. A big part of that for me is dōTERRA. I use the essential oils to set the intent and to set the tone in my space. I use it to make the space nice and light. I use it just to feel really great. I have a focus this month of my 3 favorite oils, and those are lemon, lavender, and frankincense. You can also throw peppermint in there. That is a great oil for calming the mind. And things as simple as getting yourself a lovely infuser. You can find those as little as $9.99 on Amazon. Put some water in there and put some oils in there, and it helps the air be in a space where it can support you. For me, lavender is really great for resting. It's really great for calming. And lemon is the same for me. So I have some tips, and if you contact me, if you drop a note for me in the comment section and ask for me to reach out to you, I'm happy to do so, because I have a couple of tools that I provide for people and some things that you can do with these oils. But I cannot express enough how important it is to have some part of you focused on centering, calming, and focus. And there are no better tools for me than dōTERRA. Incense can be smoky. Candles can get kind of out of control if you leave them burning and you're doing stuff that can catch on fire. But essential oils have been around since as long as we can remember, and they're a really great tool for you. So I'm going to drop a link where you can go grab some oils. If you have questions, let me know. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to my little infomercial. Let's get back into our conversation. So balancing creative flow with deadlines. I think for me as a writer, it's almost like I have, 2 different personas. I have the persona that's the creative, and then I have the persona that's the practical. And the practical part of me is the one who manages my schedule, my focus, my managing my time, all of that stuff, to make sure I don't overwork, to make sure I don't get overwhelmed, to make sure that I gauge myself. And, my husband has a lot to do with that as well. And then the creative side is the side of me that has absolutely no conscious engagement with time, is not thinking about anything but the craft that I'm working at the time. And I'll be honest with you, if I stayed in that space all the time, I don't know that I would get anything really done, because I can get locked into a project like anybody else, whether it's a script or a book or just anything, and just stay there. And if I get blocked in some way, and we all get blocked, if you talk to a writer and they're like, oh, I don't get blocked, every single one of us gets blocked, and it's a natural part of the process. But if I got blocked in any kind of project, I would just stay there. And if I stayed there, I wouldn't get anything done. So I do have some rules that I apply to my process as I'm writing, and I'm going to share some of those with you as I kind of go through. I'm looking at my notes because I made some notes for this today, because this is an important topic. So let me go through the most important pieces for me. I'm going to ask a question. So I have this question written down, and that question is, how do you protect and nurture your writer's voice while still delivering under pressure? And your writer has a voice, and your writer's voice is different from your voice. Honor that. You will do better as a writer. You will succeed more as a writer if you relate to your writer's voice like it's that person over there that is special, because they are special. It's the person it's the part of you, we'll say, that creates this wonderful stuff that you create. And what you create is wonderful, right? So how do you protect and nurture your writer's voice while you're still delivering under pressure? And under pressure is subjective, right? I believe that we need some level of pressure. You know, it's the pressure that creates the diamond. It turns the coal into a diamond. It's unrealistic to think that there is no such thing as pressure. If you are expected to deliver and there's a monetary gain or some sort of reward at the end, there's some pressure attached to it. And let's be real, if there's no pressure attached to it, is it worth doing? If you don't feel some tense anxiety of some kind, is it something that you really want to do? If you've got producers or companies or anyone expecting something out of you, be it a script or any other project that you're writing, a publishing company looking for your book, if there's no pressure on the other side, you would never do it. You would never turn it in. So that under pressure is not a bad word. Pressure is not a bad word. It's how we process pressure. That's the bad word. So let's talk about the myth of constant flow. So I like to compare it to a river. That's why I use constant flow. So a river is traveling through the lands, and if the land is flat and it's gentle and it's normal from one part to the other, whether the river is dumping off into a lake or dumping off into the ocean, if the land is constant and there's nothing interesting happening, just some boring old flat land, that river is nice and calm and it just flows down to the end point. But we all know that's not what it's like. There are canyons, and then there's rapids, and then there's mountains. There's every kind of terrain between the start and the end, and the water reacts to that terrain how it does. And that is the flow of the river. And so there is no constant calm flow. There is always going to be ebbs. There's always going to be stops. There's always going to be rapids. There's always going to be something. And so the first thing that you want to remember is that you don't want to force your process, because force isn't always the answer. When you have a deadline, unless it's a last minute deadline, and I tell you that has happened to me many times, where you're told, oh, by the way, we need that product from you. And you're like, okay, that's cool. When do you need it? How about tomorrow? Or how about Monday? And it's Friday. And now your weekend that you plan to go out with your family and go do something cool is now going to be spent in your cave producing a product. So there are high pressure situations, but if you force it, it often doesn't help. It often causes blocks, and it sometimes often doesn't give you your best product. And, you know, writers, we're never happy. It doesn't, best product is subjective. We produce stuff and it's rare that we're like, this is awesome. There's always something that we can do to improve upon it, but that's for another conversation altogether. And so, the push-pull, which is the deadline itself and how it causes you to focus, as you're looking at that force. Force is a push or force is a pull, right? And so do you want to push or do you want to pull? In pressure pushes upon you, it presses upon you, right? You want to pull your deadlines to you. You don't want your deadlines to push against you. And the only way that you can pull the deadlines to you is to plan, okay? The pressure, the overtly painful, stressful pressure usually comes from a lack of planning. And so it's important as a writer that you get realistic with yourself and that you actually have that serious part of your persona, that practical side of your persona that will sit down with you and say, okay, these are my deadlines and this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. I start each week with a planning session. I talk to myself. I don't want to talk to myself. Well, sometimes I do talk to myself. But I sit down with a planner every week and plan how that week's going to go. If I have a week where I don't have any deadlines or many deadlines that are associated with people outside of my space, outside of my sphere, then I have my own deadlines around my own goals, be they film writing goals or book goals, whatever it is that I have for my own process or what somebody else needs me to do. And I sit down and I plan that out. Okay. This is an important piece to keeping yourself from getting overwhelmed or being dragged down by the pressure. You have to plan. Okay. And otherwise you're going to get suffocated. We don't want to be suffocated. So the deadlines are not, I don't like the word deadline. I like the word goals and milestones. Deadline sounds so dead. It sounds so painful. But you have milestones. You have when planning a project, you have these different milestones, which is the due date. Okay. And so we use the term deadline that puts anxiety on us. And those of you that are into meditation, mindfulness, and energy work, we know the words are important. And if you're a person that is affected by how you use your words, you may not want to use deadline because it is a painful sounding word. Whatever word works for you, you sit down and you plan and you set out a course of how this is going to go. Why it's important to separate your practical voice from your writer's voice is because the creative voice can be stifled by practicality. Your most creative part of you is not practical, okay? And we don't want to make him or her or they, we don't want to make them practical. We want to leave them like a butterfly floating around in the sky. We want them to be joyous or mischievous or whatever it is that you have. I'm a horror sci-fi girl, so my voice is kind of dark, but it is what it is. I love my dark writer's voice, and she is dark. And I cannot tell you how many times I have had to interrupt myself because the dark voice, when you're talking to people, is not always the best voice. So my practical side sits down and does my planning. And when it's time to write, I put everything else to the side and let my writer voice play. So what am I saying here? It's a process of the voice comes first. If your unique perspective gets drowned by rushing or by planning too much or by trying to work around everything that's going on around you, your work will suffer because you'll be distracted. So you have to respect and honor that writer's voice. You have to respect and honor your craft. So if you're doing this full time, the most successful writers that write full time schedule themselves and plan it like it's a job, because it is a job. So if you get up, we use the term 9 to 5. I am not a 9 to 5. I get up really early because I like to go to bed early so my mind can rest. And I have a lot of people that I work with that are in different time zones. So I have a habit of having to get up early to talk to people internationally and talk to people on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. So I tend to get up at 4:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and my body has been trained to do that. So even if I don't have calls and work projects to work on, I'll often just write. When you get up at that time, it's hard to stay up till 10, 11 o'clock at night because you're exhausted. So I like to go to sleep early because I get up early. So that was a lot of information you probably didn't need, but at the end of the day, plan your day. If you are a full-time writer, plan your day. Plan your day just like you would plan your day. When you get up in the morning, you do your morning routine and you go to work and you do whatever your work is. If you are not a full-time writer and you have a job, then you still have to plan your day, but you have to plan your day like you have a part-time job to supplement your income, because that's what you do. You have a part-time job to supplement your income, and it might not be paying out the way you want it to pay out right now, but it will. It will, I promise. It will. So like any other job, like any other craft of any kind, even athletes have to put the time in to build themselves up to go to the Olympics. And if and when, and we're going to use the term when versus if. So when it does pay off, you're going to need to be able to have disciplines to continue to invest in creating more so that you can get paid more, right? So part-time job, build those part-time hours. If it's 4 hours a day, 3 times a week, or however many hours that might be, build a discipline around it. Make sure that your voice comes first, that your writer comes first. Give yourself that time. And the worst thing that you can do, my friend, is try to work on your writing while you're working. I hear that a lot. I have a lot of people that say that. I see that in television and movies. People are at work and they're writing. I mean, if you want to make notes, you can make notes. But I came from a job where I was in a kind of a retail scenario, and I was a general manager, and I could tell you it is not good to be caught doing other stuff when you're doing a job. So if you want to be a writer, be a writer. If you want to be a singer, be a singer. Do what you need to do, and let's make this happen for you. And I'm here for you. I'm on your side. I'm your ally. I want to help you, but I don't want you to lose your job because you're not paying attention to your job, because you're doing what Angel told you to do. Because I didn't tell you to write while you're at work. I have this thing I call microflow moments. These are small activities that you can do to pump up your creativity. For those of us who were writing while we were working, so we had that job and then we'd come home and we'd do our craft, you gotta kind of center yourself. Give yourself little assignments. The little assignments that I gave myself have become actual writing projects, and I have some published books out there, and I'll put some of the links to some of my work in the description. I would love for you to check it out. But I have this one short story collection that started as one of these activities that I call microflow moments. And what I would do is I would create something, a prompt of some kind. And in this particular instance, I use images. I have pictures, either pictures that people give me, pictures that I have, or I would create pictures, and then I would create stories around the pictures. It's what I would do to kind of like warm up and get my creative juices flowing. The other thing you could do is you could do it with music. If you have certain type of music that you like, you listen to the music and start creating with the music. Whatever works for you to get yourself going. Some people use journaling. I've used that. I'm not really good at using journaling as a writing tool, only because journaling works for me as a great release. It's hard for me to use journaling for creativity, and that's just me. I'm not saying that that's not a good tool. I'm just saying that that's just not me. The big one as a tool is rest. Rest is a creative tool, and making sure that you're strategic. Well, I can tell you from my own experience as a working writer who also had a job, if you lay down when you're tired, I'm just gonna rest and then I'll get back to it. My friend, you're gonna fall asleep. And so it's 11 o'clock at night and you're doing one of your binge writing because you have a project due and you're kind of tired. So you just kind of put your head down or you lay down for a minute, and then you wake up and it's 7 o'clock in the morning and now you got to go to work. So rest doesn't mean go to sleep, because we rarely wake up in time after going to sleep. So resting can be meditating, as a writer in entertainment. You gotta watch stuff if you're gonna write stuff. I'm gonna say that again. You gotta watch stuff if you're gonna write stuff. You gotta read scripts, you've gotta read books, you've gotta watch television, you gotta watch movies. If you're gonna write, you have to, because it's one of the things that helps you see what people are looking for. If you have a writing skill, then you wanna know what people are looking for, because if your writing doesn't mold into what the society wants to see, then you're gonna have a hard time selling your stuff. Why am I telling you this? Then turn on your TV or go on to your Netflix and find something just fun and silly and stupid and have a great time without thinking. Just let your mental process rest. It'll help open up creativity. It's like riding a bike when your muscles just need to warm up. It's a really great tool. So rest is important. And I like reading books too. Reading is really great for that. And then, I talk about mindfulness and the importance of mindfulness, and writers, creative people can sometimes have a hard time with this process because it's hard to turn our minds off because we're always in a creative mode. But you need that mindfulness. You need your mind to rest. If you don't quiet the noise will never quiet. So make sure you take the time to be mindful. Meditation, breathing, whatever it is that you are comfortable with. There's a lot of resources out there. I have music that I listen to. Just sit there and do nothing and let the mind relax and rest. You have to protect your writer. You have to protect the boundaries of your writer's voice. The most important thing to your writer is the projects that are important to you. Some of those projects are your projects, and some of the other projects are the ones you're responsible for, because you have your hired projects, you have your work projects, you have whatever it is that you've been assigned to do, and you have all the fun things you do with your friends and colleagues and schoolmates and things like that. You have to make sure that the things that you put a priority on are the things that are a priority. Your work projects with actual milestones where there is monetary gain or some sort of critical gain for you as a writer. Protect your boundaries as a writer, because at the end of the day, you might do a great job for the other projects and they'll love you, but you're going to be measured by the projects with a high priority. So make sure you respect and give yourself the grace to make sure you take care of yourself. So I want to share a story, and this is something that happened recently. As I said, I am a writer. I have my own projects and I have other projects that I work with. And I had this one project, which was a screenwriting project for a film that's just gone into pre-production. And it was a project that I was the writer on. It was a story that was developed by someone else, and they wanted me to do the writing on it. Very flattering. I was very excited about it. But I was working on a number of other projects, so it wasn't a priority, and we all understood it wasn't a priority. The story was pitched to a production company. The production company showed interest, but they were kind of like, not right now. And so that gave us time to work on it. So I placed it in a certain order. I had my line of projects to work, and it wasn't the first one. It was like second or third, and we were all clear with the understanding of that. And so everything was all fine, and I was working on something else. The production company surprisingly came back and said, "Oh yeah, when you guys going to give us the script? We really want to see that." Oh, that kind of changed everything. So I had to take a step back, and I worked with the developer on the story, and I was able to shift some things in my space, complete the script, and then deliver it, and everything went great. So we're right now waiting for that to go into production. For me, I was able to handle it, I was able to process it, and I was able to complete it without driving myself into a state of exhaustion. It was stressful. Yes, it was very stressful because it wasn't my story. I think the hard part to manage when you are a writer working with people is people take for granted the amount of work writers do and how hard it is to pull writing together. And I know this guy's gonna hear this probably, and I don't want you to have any judgment or feel anything about it. I love you, and I have nothing negative to say about this particular project. I am excited about it, and I'm excited about working with this individual. He's amazing. I'm just sharing an anecdote here. So if you're listening, please don't take it personal. But at the end of the day, I'm a writer, and it takes work to do a writer. You got to sit down, you got to develop the characters, and this particular story is a horror story, which is my rah-da-da. It is my life, and I wanted to give him the best dang story I could come up with. So it's not something where it's like I've got the beats, we set up the outline, we know what it's going to look like. I got him to approve the direction it was going in, but I wanted to create some iconic imagery. I wanted to create something that I could be proud of, but more important, something that he could be proud of. And it takes work to do that. It's not something that happens overnight. And so there was a lot of work that had to go into it. And the only way I was able to do that was to be able to manage my time, manage my space, and guess what? I had to manage him too. I had to check in with him. I had to let him know it's all good, because like a little kid waiting for Santa Claus to come, all they want is their delivered project, especially when there's a production company chomping at the bit that wants to produce it and is ready to produce it right now. They want the script right now. So when it comes to the concept of managing your boundaries, there's so much that goes into managing the boundaries, and part of that is helping the people you work with understand that you have contracted with a writer. I am a real writer. I'm not saying that to you to tell you what I am. I'm saying that to you to tell yourself what you are. When you're a real writer, you're not popping stuff out every 15 minutes like it's a pastrami sandwich. You are working, you are developing, you are crafting. And to craft, it takes time. And if you listen to some of the greatest writers we have out there, watch the news and read the publications, you will see them talk about how much time it takes to write a really great script. It takes time. Productions are held up sometimes waiting for those really masterpiece scripts to be written. So it takes time to write something great. So managing expectation is not just for yourself, it's also for the people that you're working with. So you have to understand your writer's voice. You train your writer, and your writer trains you. So someone says, hey, can you help me write this? Or hey, can you write this for me? And you're like, sure. And they say, can you have it for me in 2 days? I'm not mad at you. If you're a person that can write a great script in 2 days, more power to you. But most of us need more than 2 days. So you're going to have to learn what it takes for your writer to write. You're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to build that muscle, and then you're going to have to respect it. And then you're going to have to give yourself that recovery time. So when I finished this project, and I did it faster than I normally would because of the deadline, and it came out damn good. I'll be honest. It came out really good. And when it was done, I didn't touch anything for a few days. I gave myself a break because my brain was tired. And so I have some guilty pleasures that I enjoy. I'll admit here in front of you guys are my friends. You come and see me. One of my guilty pleasures is anime. So when I just want to turn off the brain and have a great time, I pop some popcorn and I sit and I'll watch some anime. I watched K-pop Demon Hunters. I loved it. We can talk about some other time. But that's one of my escapes is anime. And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for you, break. Take breaks. You need them. You must have those breaks. So those are just some of the things. Being a writer is a journey. It's filled with joy. It's filled with elation. It's also can be filled with disappointment. It can be filled with all kinds of stuff. Writers hear no as often as singers and actors do. And when somebody says no to you about your craft, it can hurt. If you don't take care of your writer won't be able to handle that. So make sure you take care of your writer's voice. And I'm going to ask you a question. You can consider this a call to action. What's one ritual or act of rest that protects your creative voice? If you have an answer to that question, go ahead and drop that in the comments and let's talk about it. If you don't have an answer to that question, then my friend, you need something, because you've got a long life ahead of you. Whether you are 23 or 103, you've got a long writer's life ahead of you, and we want to hear everything and read everything that you have to create. So that's the episode today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have things that you'd like to hear about, I love having these conversations with you, and I'd love to share more of my experience with you as a writer, and I'd love to hear some of your experiences too. So drop your comments. Thank you for visiting. I'm going to let you guys go because I have some other stuff to do on my own writing calendar today. So this was actually one of my breaks, was sitting down and talking to you, and I've had fun doing it. So thank you very much for coming by. I love you. Have a wonderful day and keep writing. Don't let anybody stop you from writing. Always write, because with writing comes stories, and we can't live without great stories. Thank you for visiting. I'm Mystic. Take care. Bye-bye.